Even time has arrived when soon your exam date will be announced, but I can understand that it will be taken with a difference. But what I mean that whatever is the format of exam, but everyone craves for success, children. So what is my recommendation to you that and I will say that prove yourself to yourself and not to others. So you agree that I have finished the chapter Combustion and Flame, and what I do every time when I finish the chapter, that we discuss about the possible questions which can be asked from the chapter, and just to make your concept clear and better. So the same thing I am doing here also, children. Today in my this lecture program I am doing the same, and I have brought a set of 20 questions for you, and these questions are all very interesting. So we will start having a good discussion over the question. Let's start it. So not necessarily I will provide you answer or I will give you hints, etc. Because I can understand that the chapter has been discussed in a very lengthier way. So you are now in the position to give the answer of these questions, which are simpler but inquisitive. So the question 1 says, what are the states in which fuel may exist? I am not telling, you will say. Then, does magnesium produce heat and light during its combustion? So children, magnesium definitely produces heat and enormous light energy, like very bright and dazzling light is produced. So you will give your answer accordingly. Now in the question number 3, how are heat and light produced in the sun? So heat and light are produced in the sun. Here I am telling you a little much, because the heat and light is produced from the sun due to a nuclear reaction, that is called fusion reaction, and this is the reason that why abundant of heat and light is produced from the sun. So now question number 4, we have reached till question 4 now, and question is, where were matchstick first used? So children, this is Egypt, which is which has a history of very old civilization. That was the place where the first time matchstick was used. Question number 5 has this question, that what is the ignition temperature of phosphorus? Children, it is just 25 degrees Celsius, because phosphorus starts burning at the room temperature. White phosphorus, in fact, because this is a very highly combustible substance and reactive also. That is why it is always kept dipped inside the water to keep it cool. Now question 6, what is the composition of the head of matchstick? So here I am definitely giving you a hint, and you will learn it also, because this is the composition of matchstick, which is your antimony trisulfide and potassium chlorate and antimony trisulfide. These are the two substances which is used in the head of a matchstick. Now question 7, which part of a flame does a goldsmith blow to melt gold and silver? Children, you know that gold and silver are very hard and very strongly metallic elements, and their melting point is very high. So naturally, when the melting point is very high, it will require higher temperature to melt. So what flame of the what part of the flame gives the maximum temperature? That you will write from your own knowledge and reasoning. Question 8, what is the unit of expressing calorific value of a fuel? Children, it is very clear that I have discussed in the class. You must have been remembering that it is kilojoule per kilogram, kJ per kg. Question 9, comparing the calorific value of coal and petrol, state which fuel is better? Coal is what? What is the state of coal? Solid. And what is the state of petrol? It is liquid. So now I am again reminding you that the liquids have a space between them, so they burn relatively better than the solid fuel, which are compactly packed. And here I am providing hint also. You will just use this hint and you will answer. And I hope that you will answer correctly. Question 10. Give any two examples of carbon fuels. Carbon fuels are what? Here you may can get confused, and you will end up in giving the example of carbon fuel as coal. But is this coal, is that only which is your carbon fuel? No, one more carbon fuel which has carbon with hydrogen also, but carbon is there, so you can't ignore the presence of carbon, and that is your hydrocarbon, and which is your what? Petroleum products, which are the hydrocarbons and highly combustible substances, which gives very high calorific value. So till question 10 we have solved. Coming to question 11, which is the best fuel for kitchen in present times? What will be the best fuel? What your mom uses in the kitchen? Just use your observation skill and answer. Question 12. Give one example of a fuel which does not produce any flame while burning. Children, those substances which are either liquid or gaseous, and those solids also which are having very less volume, they burn with flame. But do you remember any fuel which does not produce flame while burning? Just remember and write. So we focus towards the 13th question. What is spontaneous combustion? Children, what is spontaneous combustion? Little much I am reminding you here. Spontaneous combustion does not need any external source to ignite, because we know that ignition temperature is provided by the ignition, or by burning some fire splinter, or by burning matchstick. But here you do not need to do that. It burns itself at the room temperature only, and this is your spontaneous combustion, means self combustion without any external source to ignite it. Question 14. We can boil water in a paper cup while paper catches fire easily. Why? So this is a higher order question which will increase which will raise your thinking skill, that you may have seen, and during childhood also we do lots of such activities which gives us entertainment, that we make a paper cup and we put some water in it and we keep it over the flame, and we see that the paper is not burning. Why? Because the ignition temperature is required to burn any combustible substance, and paper is highly combustible substance. You and I both agree. But what happens that the paper does not burn? Because the paper transfers the heat which it gains from the flame or fire to the water, and water uses this heat in reaching its boiling point. So water will boil, and unless all the water does not get evaporated or vaporized, converting into steam, paper will not catch fire. When the paper will just become without any water, no water droplets are inside the paper cup, then it will become high and dry, and then it will catch fire. This is the reason. Now, what do you mean by forest fire? Forest fire is a very good example of, you can say, spontaneous combustion. One spontaneous combustion will be your forest fire also, because there in the forest nobody is there to ignite the forest trees. But what happens due to sometimes thunderstorm or rubbing of the branches of the wood, and lots of oxygen are present around in the forest, because the environment is extremely clean. So forest fire is a very common thing, and it is a challenge for the environmentalist, because it is not coming under control because of the supporter of the combustion, which is your oxygen, and the combustible substance, which is your wood, is always present there. So this is your forest fire. Good example of, I will say, spontaneous combustion, and environmentally it is taken as a challenge to control the forest fire. Now question 16. Name the clean fuel recommended to use in buses. You will write it. Just see, question 16 demands your what thinking skill. Why do different substances start burning at different temperature? You will answer, because you know that we have good concept about the ignition temperature of the different combustible substances, and you know that without attaining the ignition temperature of a particular substance, that substance will not start burning. So this is the reason that I have told you. The answer is hidden in my statement. You just try to find out. Now question 18. Give examples of some substances which gives smoke on burning. This also requires your observation skill only, because you know that many things burn with a smoke, like when the plastic etc. burn at the side of the road, they also give lots of smoke. When the garbage is burned, they give lots of smoke. Means if the substance is solid, like coal also, when it is raw coal without purified and we have not converted into charcoal, then this also gives smoke. Petrol also gives smoke when it burns. Kerosene also gives smoke. So these are some of the some substances, or many of the substances. I will say very less substances don't give smoke, because they are very clean fuel and they are the gaseous substances. Question 19. What is the major cause of global warming? Global warming is caused by mainly the gases which are called greenhouse gases. I have given you a very good concept of greenhouse effect. Utilize that concept and give the answer. On what principle fire extinguisher work? Fire extinguishers mainly work on cooling the fire, means cooling it below its ignition temperature, and cutting off the supply of what? Oxygen. So if I have to choose in these two causes, that cause will be more important, where it cuts off the supply of oxygen to the fire. And that is why the soda fire extinguisher or acid fire extinguisher etc. do what? That they just give a foam over the fire, mixed either vinegar or baking soda, or simply sodium carbonate in the water, dissolved sodium carbonate. They release lots of carbon dioxide due to the thermal decomposition, and then carbon dioxide covers up the fire and it envelops the fire, and provides like a blanket over the fire, which cuts off the supply of oxygen, which is very required for the combustion to continue. So it is discontinued. That's my class of some extra question, or you can say those questions which are meant for you. So just give the answer what I mean.